Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever actually noticed how the exact same words can sound like a strict command, a gentle plea, or even a deep emotional wish? Saying no is literally an art form. Today we're exploring the profound and beautiful science of eloquence, known as Balaaghaah. We're going to look specifically at how the Arabic language handles prohibition, telling someone not to do something, and how a seemingly simple grammatical structure actually holds an ocean of rhetorical dimensions. Settle in, because we're going to unlock the hidden emotional intelligence inside the language itself.
Think about that for a second. Does telling someone no always mean you're giving an order? In everyday life, you might tell a kid, hey, don't touch that, which, yeah, is definitely an order. But what if you tell a buddy, hey, don't forget to call me? That's not a strict command. That's just a friendly request. Our goal in this explainer is to challenge your assumptions about strict grammatical rules. We're going to dive beneath the surface of the text to see what's really going on when we use these structures.
So, let's start with part 1, the rules above the surface when it comes to the science of prohibition.
To really get the depths of this language, think of it kind of like an iceberg. What we see right above the water is the rigid textbook grammar. At its core, we're talking about a concept called a nahi. In Ilmul Balaaghaah, the science of eloquence, a nahi translates to prohibition. It's the act of telling someone not to do something. Sounds incredibly straightforward, right? But as any student of eloquence knows, words are just vessels. It's the intent poured into them that gives them their true shape. Before we get to that intent, though, let's look at the vessel itself.
Okay, so here's the technical formula we need to anchor our whole discussion. It's usually formed just with the la of prohibition, meaning the word no, or do not, followed by a present tense verb. The classic example is la takdhib, which means do not lie. This is your baseline, la plus the verb. That's the grammatical container. Now that we have our container, let's start pouring different rhetorical meanings, known as aghrad an-nahy al-balaghiyah, into it.
Moving into part 2, let's look at commands and gentle advice, focusing on top-down dynamics.
Right, so when a speaker holds a clear position of authority over the listener, the grammar takes on its most literal, firm meaning. We call this real prohibition, or an-nahy al-haqiqi. A superior is strictly forbidding an inferior. Take the classic Quranic example. Do not associate partners with Allah. When delivered from the Creator to the creation, there's absolutely no ambiguity. It's a direct, authoritative prohibition.
But what happens when that top-down authority actually softens its approach? Well, the exact same grammatical structure transforms entirely. Think of the phrase, do not keep company with evil people, or even, do not be excessive in food. Grammatically, it's identical to a strict command, but rhetorically, this is unusual irshad, advice and guidance. The speaker isn't necessarily exercising strict authority to punish you. They're softening their tone to guide you toward your own benefit. The grammar is rigid, but the tone is incredibly caring.
All right, for part 3, let's explore supplications and friendly requests. These are our bottom-up and horizontal dynamics.
Now we're going to totally shift the paradigm. What happens when the power dynamic is flipped or completely leveled out? We just saw the superior speaking to the inferior. But if an inferior speaks to a superior using the exact same law plus verb structure, it obviously cannot be an order. You literally cannot command someone who holds ultimate authority over you. The linguistic vessel has to adapt to the reality of the relationship. So here's how that bottom-up dynamic actually manifests. When directed to Allah, the structure of nahi becomes dua, supplication. The Quranic example here is, our Lord, do not take us to account. Grammatically, sure, it's a prohibition. But a servant cannot command the master. Therefore, the science of Balaaghaah recognizes that the true rhetorical purpose here is absolute humility, pleading, and supplication. The context completely overrides the literal grammar. And what if the speaker and listener are on the exact same level? Horizontal dynamics. Well, between friends or equals, nahi becomes a polite request, known as al-iltimas. Do not forget to visit me. You aren't giving your buddy a strict military order. You're just conversing. It's a friendly, horizontal request. The exact same grammar, but an entirely different conversational cadence.
Let's head into part 4. Threats, rebukes, and belittling. We're getting into the emotional depths now.
Let's dive a little deeper into pure psychological territory. This right here is where prohibition is used as a tool for intense emotional expression. Our first stop in the depths is at-tahdid, the threat. Do not make excuses today. The speaker isn't simply saying, "I forbid you from speaking." The true meaning is far heavier. Your excuses will not benefit you at all. A severe consequence is already decided. It's a heavy, deeply resonant warning.
Next up, we have a tawbih, rebuke or scolding. You use this to shame or intensely criticize someone for their actions. The example is, do not lie while you know the truth. The point isn't just to stop the lie going forward. The whole point is to highlight the hypocrisy of the listener. It's basically a verbal pointed finger. The prohibition here carries the immense weight of moral disappointment.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that context shapes the blade. With at-tahkir, belittling, it's like saying, do not occupy yourself with trivial matters. In this case, the speaker is showing that the action itself, or honestly, sometimes even the person doing it, is completely insignificant and worthless. You're telling them not to do it because it's beneath them, or just a massive waste of time. It shrinks the importance of the act entirely.
Moving on to Part 5, Expressing Impossible Wishes. This is truly the heart of Balaaghaah. We've seen commands, we've seen requests, and we've seen threats. But what happens when you issue a prohibition to something that literally cannot hear you, to an abstract concept, or, say, to time itself? This is atamani, the wish. Would that youth did not depart. The poet is technically issuing a prohibition to youth, telling it not to leave, but youth can't obey. It's deep emotional longing disguised as a grammatical command. It is truly a beautiful use of language.
Let's quickly summarize this core thesis. In the science of eloquence, saying la tefal, do not do, is rarely just a strict prohibition. The exact same grammatical form produces completely different meanings depending on 4 key pillars: the speaker, the listener, the context, and the emotional tone. Tone dictates meaning. This flexibility, this amazing ability to layer human emotion into rigid syntax, is one of the greatest beauties emphasized in texts like Durus al-Balaaghaah.
Finally, in Part 6, let's look at prohibition versus negation, the technical contrast.
Let's resurface for a quick-fire technical contrast. We absolutely must distinguish between prohibition, which is what we've been talking about, and simple negation. Here's your quick rules summary. When we use la for prohibition, la anahiya, it exerts physical force on the grammar. It changes the state of the present tense verb, making it majzoom. Take la talab, do not play. The end of the verb is clipped. It gets a sukoon, a silent pause. The prohibition actually impacts the word itself, just as a command impacts the listener. Okay, so law of prohibition, or nahi, means do not, as in la takdhib, do not lie. It makes the verb majzoom, literally demanding that an action stop. But law of negation, nefi, does something entirely different. It just states a fact. It means not or does not. For example, la yakdhubu al-mu'min, the believer does not lie. Notice how the verb here ends in an u sound. It is not majzoom. Prohibition demands an action stop. Negation simply describes a reality.
Which brings us to our final thought. The Arabic science of Balaaghaah gives us these beautifully technical terms for these shifts in meaning. But at its core, this is a deeply human phenomenon. How often do you use grammatical commands to mask friendly requests, hidden anger, or impossible wishes in your own daily conversations? The next time you tell someone no or don't, ask yourself, are you really giving an order, or are you pleading, advising, or wishing? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and keep looking beneath the surface.